Hello friends, in last video lecture part 1 of the question energy flow is completed. So in part 1 the first 3 paragraphs were completed and now we will talk about the second part of this question. So in second part of this question we will start from the producers. So if we talk about the producers, we can say that food chains or food webs found in ecosystem are starting from the producers. So we can say that producers are what? Producers are one type of starting place. Producers are one type of starting place of different type of food chains as well as food webs. Point number 2, we can say that it is important. In the food chains or food web, all animals are dependent upon other plants or animals for their food, and sometimes this animal will be food for another. So see, we have one example. If there is a organism A, means there is a animal A. So animal A or organism A is dependent upon organism B. Organism B may be plant or animal. Remember, organism A is dependent upon what? Dependent upon organism B. It means organism B is food for organism A. But in the ecosystem, organism A is also food for organism C. It means B is food for A while A is food for C. So it is what? It is one type of interaction. It is one type of interdependency. So we can say that in ecosystem, interaction or interdependency is found in the food chain as well as food web. Now see, point number 3 is what? No energy that is trapped into an organism remains in it forever. It means we can say that energy will not be stable forever in any organism which is in which energy is trapped. So again, point number 3, we can say that no energy which is trapped into an organism remains in it forever. Now see, point number 4, energy trapped by producer will go to the further next level. Now see, two options are there. Option number 1, passed on to a consumer. Option number 2, the organism dies. Okay, now see, the energy trapped by producers either passed on to a consumer or the organism die. Now see, next point, we can say that death of organism is the beginning of the DFC. DFC means you can say that detritus food chain or detritus food web. It is the most IMP one-liner question. Death of organism is beginning of the blank. So remember, the answer will be DFC. It means death of organism is the beginning of the detritus food chain. Here the important thing is that detritus word is connected with the decomposers. So see here, first 5 points are completed in this page. See, point number 1 is what? Point number 1, we can say that food chains or food webs are starting from the producers. So producers are the starting place of the food chains or the food webs. Point number 2, we can say that interaction or interdependency is found in the food chain as well as food web. Point number 3, no energy is that is trapped into an organism remain in it forever. Point number 4, we can say that energy will go either passed on to a consumer or the organism die. Point number 5, death of organism is the beginning, means starting of the DFC, means detritus food chain or detritus food web. So first page is completed. See, first page is all about the producer. Now if we talk about the second page is about the consumers. See, all animals depend on plants, means producer. directly or indirectly. For what? For their food requirement. So they are known as consumers. So what is the definition of consumers? Consumers are one type of animals which are dependent upon plant directly or indirectly for their food requirements. Again, definition of consumer, one liner question, important. What is the definition of consumer? Consumers are one type of animals which are dependent upon plants, means producer, directly or indirectly for their food requirements. Point number 1 is completed. Now see point number 2. Consumers are heterotrophic according to mode of nutrition. Heterotrophic means depend upon other organisms. Now see point number 3. Three categories are there. Three categories of consumers are there. First category, which is known as primary consumer. Second category, which is known as secondary consumer. Third category, which is known as tertiary consumer. Now see, primary consumers are dependent upon producers, while secondary consumers are dependent upon primary consumers, while tertiary consumers are dependent upon secondary consumers. So you will remember this. And now if we talk about the example, primary consumers are dependent upon producers, means plant, so they are herbivorous. Herbivorous is important word. Primary consumers are herbivorous. Secondary consumers are primary carnivorous, means first carnivorous, and tertiary consumers are secondary carnivorous, which are also known as top carnivorous. So there are main three categories of consumers: primary, secondary, tertiary. Primary consumers are dependent upon plants, means producer. Secondary consumers are dependent upon primary consumers, while tertiary consumers are dependent upon secondary consumers. Primary consumers are herbivorous. Secondary consumers are first, means primary carnivorous, and tertiary consumers are top carnivorous, means second carnivorous. Remember, either primary or secondary or tertiary consumers, but they are heterotrophs, means herbivorous. Primary and secondary carnivorous belongs to the heterotrophs. Now point number 4, if we talk about the examples of herbivorous, it means, see, we are talking about the primary consumers. So in terrestrial ecosystem, some insects as well as birds as well as mammals are the examples of herbivorous, while in aquatic ecosystem, some molluscan animals are the examples of the herbivorous. So there are 4 names are there. You will remember all 4 names for the MCQ. Insect, bird, mammal connected with the terrestrial ecosystem. Molluscan animal is connected with the aquatic ecosystem, and these all examples are of the herbivorous, means primary consumer. Okay, now see, there is a one concept of the GFC. So now we have the new name which is known as GFC. What is the meaning of GFC? See, FC means food chain. G is equal to grazing. So GFC is equal to grazing food chain. See, last sentence, GFC starts from the producers. So you remember that GFC starts from the producer. Now see, we have main 3 organisms in an ecosystem. First one is grass, second one is goat, third one is mane. So we can say that goat is dependent upon grass, while mane is dependent upon goat. But grass is placed in a category of producer, while goat is placed in a category of primary consumer, and mane is placed in a category of the secondary consumer. So it is the example of GFC, but you will remember GFC starts from the producer. So GFC, which is known as grazing food chain. So this page is completed. See here, in first point we can say the definition of the consumer, second point heterotrophic, third point primary, secondary, tertiary, consumer, dependent upon what and what, and their examples. Point number 4 about examples, and point number 5 about the GFC. Now see, this first paragraph of your textbook is about the producer. Second paragraph of your textbook is second and third paragraphs of your textbook is about the consumer, and see last one is about the GFC, means grazing food chain. Okay, so part number 2 is also completed here. Now if we talk about the part number 3, so see in part number 2 we had talked about the producers and consumers. Now in part number 3 we are talking about the last category of biotic factor, which is known as the decomposers. Okay, see first point, decomposers are heterotrophic according to mode of nutrition. If we talk about the some examples of decomposer, examples are fungi as well as bacteria. Point number 3, very important, decomposers are dependent upon the detritus material. Detritus means the dead organic materials. You know that decomposers are dependent upon producer and consumers both. Point number 4, they are saprophytic according to mode of nutrition. In Greek language, sapro is equal to decompose. Point number 5, decomposers having ability to secrete some special types of digestive enzymes that break down dead and waste material into simple inorganic materials. So there are only 5 points about decomposers. These all are one type of MCQ. Decomposer, first point, heterotrophic. Second point, example fungi as well as bacteria. Third point, dependent upon dead organic material, means detritus. Fourth one is about the saprophytic according to mode of nutrition, and last one, able to secrete digestive enzyme responsible for the breakdown of the dead and waste material into simple inorganic material. Now see point number 6, we have a new concept about the DFC. DFC means detritus food chain, begins with the dead organic material. So you know that in last part we had GFC, means grazing food chain. Grazing food chain starts with producer, while DFC, detritus food chain, starts with the dead organic material, which is made up of the decomposers. Okay, so DFC is there. So this concept is completed. Now see the next concept is about what? Next concept is about the two types of food chains are there in ecosystem. First one is GFC, second one is DFC. The full form of GFC is grazing food chain and full form of DFC is detritus food chain. Point number 2, see in aquatic ecosystem GFC is important, while in terrestrial ecosystem DFC is important. Point number 3, GFC and DFC both are interconnected with each other. Point number 4, sometimes the organisms, means member of detritus food chain, are prey to GFC animals. For example, point number 5, we can say that cockroaches and crows, these both are omnivorous. See, it is the one-liner question. Find out the name of omnivorous animals. So answer will be cockroach as well as crows. And last point number 6, food web will be formed by natural interaction of the food chain. So we can say that different type of food chains are there, and because of the interaction of food chain, food web will be formed. So food chains are responsible for the formation of food web. So see in this page we had talked about the first 5 points about decomposer, then point number 6 about the DFC, then in next concept is about the types of food chain. Two types are there, GFC and DFC. Both are interconnected with each other. In aquatic, GFC is dominant, important, while in terrestrial ecosystem, DFC is dominant and important. Some examples are there. Examples of omnivorous animals will be cockroach and crow. but last point is important. We can say that because of the interaction of food chains, food web will be formed. Okay, so see here the last paragraph is there. This paragraph is about the decomposers. See, DFC is there, decomposer is there, and heterotrophic organism examples are there, fungi and bacteria depend upon detritus. Then saprotrophic according to mode of nutrition, able to secrete some type of digestive enzyme that break down the dead and waste material into simple inorganic material. Okay, so thus part number 2 and part number 3 is completed in this video lecture. Thank you very much.